Our tale begins with a brave hero who sought to defeat the ferocious Ender Dragon, a beast that has threatened the world for far too long now. Unfortunately for our hero, the world is an unforgiving place. Many beasts stand in between our main character and the dragon, and in this world, when you die, you're gone for good.
MC that's me イカれてる言っちゃっていいのまだ普通じゃない波外れて人とは違う独創性にと雲の上でチェ上には上が L つまり俺らブループレン on the next level 凡人の持てるフローもつ守る BDNIPPS test the Hebo smoke master the Buddha man feels like a Rastafarian 第76コロシアムウニ MCs get gas like the モードガスパンチライン炸裂 Up in your ass 一撃一発 blah My shit is tighter than 小学生の pussy Smooth butter from the brand 火印いつも fresh FRES 産地直送 flow and I use so My shit is fly like ステレスのジェット本目本命オリジナルボーセ別所ラップマジでブラジオートゲエルマティックブラ MCs の個性がね一度見りゃ雑魚忘れられね Man with the third eye 見つめの防災マシンガン隠す俺が
So I arrived, naked, cold, and tossed into a land unfamiliar to me. A world very unforgiving to those that aren't prepared to face the challenges ahead. I began chopping trees, as this was the first obstacle to overcome. Using the wood I gathered, I crafted myself the table of crafting and built myself a wooden axe to make the job of deforesting a tad bit easier. While performing the act of chopping down trees, I noticed at the corner of my eye the splendid sight of coal. Making my way over to the coal vein, I decided it would be smart to gather up some seeds for a small farm so I can have a stable food supply, if it just so happens that all the animals around my house go extinct. Mining the coal vein rewarded me with 14 pieces of coal. Shortly after, I decided it would be best to lay down a quick foundation for my new home, so I made a little 9x9 square and took a minuscule brick to kill a cow in front of its family. I finished my home layout as the sun was beginning to set. Due to the severity of the creatures that lurk in the darkness and the lack of proper roofing and walls, I dug out a little basement of sorts to hold me off during the nighttime until my house was fully completed. I also made use of the free time I had and decided mine to break the night. Day 2, I emerged from the underground and immediately got to work. I crafted myself a stone hoe and tilled the land near the small pond by my house and sowed the seeds of my new farm. Now, I no longer have to worry about the struggles of starvation. While mining the grass for extra seeds, I noticed the world had generated 2 floating grass blocks, and I also got the super rare drop of a bone from the grass. Running low on wood, I decided it would be best to yet again chop down some more trees. While doing so, I also stumbled upon some pumpkins for harvesting. Noticing a herd of animals, I decided to slaughter them for food, but I decided to leave the pigs because, to put it simply, we don't eat pork. Once night came around, I yet again went back into my basement and managed to mine all the way down to level 11, and yet I did not find a single diamond. Day 3 was the first day of harvest and yet another day of farming. I used the bone that I received from Notch and turned it into bone meal so I could get wheat and gather some animals for an animal farm. Using some of the wood I gathered the day before, I crafted some fence gates and fences and got to work on building my new farm. Once I had the fences laid out, getting animals into them wasn't much of a challenge due to there being a small group of 4 sheep near the hill by my house. After getting the sheep into their new sanctuary, it was then time to gather up some cows since I was really going to need them for their supply of milk and leather. With the spare daylight I had remaining, I chopped down some birch wood so I could finish my floor, and I also made the cows do the nasty. I then smelted some iron that I had in my inventory, and made some shears to get wool so I could make a bed to rest my head. But this would not be an easy feat, for this night it had started to thunderstorm, and loads of mobs stood between me and my sheep pen. Battling creepers and zombies, I managed to reach the pen and shear a sheep, but to my surprise, I didn't have enough wool to make myself a bed. And the storm was only getting worse, with the thunder raging louder than before. I came to the conclusion that if I wanted to safely execute my plan of getting this wool, I was going to need some serious protection. I crafted myself an iron helmet and shield and charged into the outside storm. Immediately upon heading outside, I was swarmed by enemies and bombarded with arrows. The shield I made had proven itself very useful. Unfortunately for me, one of the zombies was hit in the crossfire and turned his back on the skeleton archers. I took the fight to my basement as the zombies and skeleton followed me inside, but little did they know, I had home advantage, and I wasn't losing this fight. I made my way outside again and slayed some of the stray foes around my house to make way for a fast break to the sheep pen and back to the confines of my home. Shearing the final sheep, I dashed back to my basement, put together a bed, and slept the night of day 3 with glee. I woke up on day 4, thanking Notch that I was allowed to live to see yet another sunrise. But this doesn't mean I get to relax so easily, so I got on about starting my day. I harvested my crops, killed the creeper that tried to catch me lacking, bred my animals, and started the placement of walls around my base for peace of mind. Once my walls were placed down, I also threw some torches on them to somewhat light my area up a bit. I also had to show these zombies who's boss with a little help from my suicide bombing friend, but this wasn't enough help. More and more mobs began swarming my base again, similar to what had happened the night before. I was once again trapped in my basement, but this time by 2 creepers that had made their way into my home in progress. To reclaim my home, I forged myself a bow for the 3 arrows I had in my inventory, and with this, I'll kill the creepers and call it a night. I went and peeked through the opening on the trapdoors, and to my surprise, there were no creepers. So, I decided to sleep the night away and worry about that problem in the morning. Waking up on day 5, I decided it would be best to not use the trapdoors to get out of my basement, and instead I made an emergency exit to the surface just in case something like the events of last night happened again. Making my way back up to the surface, I finished placing torches along my walls, and once I was done with that, I then began making glass panes for the process of putting in windows for my new abode. Shortly after putting the windows in, I began getting to work on my roof. Halfway working into my roof, the wandering trader stopped by my base for a quick visit. Due to him having crappy trades, I decided it would be best to take his life in exchange for the lead he was using for his llama, which I also killed due to him not being able to keep his mouth closed. Before nightfall, I made sure to harvest my crops, I bred my animals, and took a glance at the lunar eclipse that was going on tonight. With some spare time I had, I decided to go mining for some stone so I could have enough to build stairs for my roof in the morning. And I also made a little smelting area at level 11 just in case I actually find any ore in the process of mining. And I accidentally made 5 composters on accident. Day 6, I slayed out the zombies in my yard and started adding more roofing to my house. I bred my animals once again and took a quick minute to chop down some more trees because, to be honest, you can never have too much wood. I also killed the nearby cows for some food and once again left the pigs because, reasons mentioned before. I planted some sugarcane that I found alongside my pond, and I decided to take a gander over the hill, and to my surprise, I seen a little village in the distance. This will definitely come in handy when I'm ready to start mass trading with them. By nightfall, I decided to make a quick chest station by my animal farm because I got annoyed with having to run back and forth to get wheat. I'm shooting for the most efficient ways to do things, you know? Day 7, I woke up in the morning and killed the mobs around my house yet again and finished making my chest station and took the time to breed my animals. I think they're starting to feel a bit cramped. Feeling like $1,000,000, I decided to go and say hello to my new neighbors that I had found and see if they had anything that I could borrow. I took some cactus as well since my house is missing a cactus plant, and I also made sure to grab some carrots and potatoes for my farm. I also nabbed some leather booties and cauldron that I found near the leather workers and borrowed a brewing stand from my new pal Jesse since he had 2 of them. Running back to my base, I noticed the sound of zombies awfully close to the surface, so I took a mental note of the area so I could go back when I was ready, and once I was back at my base, I tilled the land to plant these fresh carrots and potatoes, and made a little spot near the mystical floating grass block to grow my new cactus plants. And before I ended my night, I decided to take a trip to the mine to look for some iron and gather up some more stone. Day 8 was pretty lackluster and laid back if I do say so myself. I took the time to add a 2nd floor to my house and finished my roof, which surprisingly ended up taking the entire day. I don't know about you guys, but I like it. After harvesting my crops and breeding my animals, you know, the usual schedule, I decided to take a trip to the desert and go on a necessary sand excavation for the windows on my second floor. Once I got back home, I tossed all the sand that I had excavated into the furnace for some smelting, and in the meantime, I placed down the cauldron that I had borrowed from the villagers and put some water in it. Once the glass finished smelting, I turned them into panes and placed them upstairs. And it was official. After nearly 10 days, my house was finally finished. Well, not necessarily, because it needs more decorations, but hey, now I have a roof over my head and my own room. To make my room more roomy, I put a cactus and cornflower in 2 flower pots, and I also made a little dirt tower to view my abode from above and gave myself a mini heart attack. On day 10, I got up and followed my usual schedule of harvesting crops and breeding the animals. I also took the time to admire what 10 days worth of work looked like, and as a little reward for surviving this long, I put some magenta carpet in my room upstairs. Today was my first day of laid back relaxing, so I didn't really do much. On day 11, I woke up feeling pretty adventurous, so I geared up and headed off to the caves near my house to further investigate the source of the zombies. Maybe it was a spawner. I wandered into a dark cave full of bats and almost got blown up by a creeper. I mined some of the coal and iron I found and moved on to the next cave. Fortunately for me, this next cave contained an abandoned mine shaft. I was really starting to appreciate the spot that I spawned at, since I never even explored the area. I just set up base here. Killing the spiders and creepers guarding the mineshaft entrance, I placed torches all over the place to prevent more mobs from spawning and ambushing me while I was mining. I mined as much iron that I could find so I could make a suit of iron armor because I made it this far and didn't want to die while wandering around the mineshaft. I made a tiny smelting station to smelt some of the iron I found, and after making my suit of armor, I cautiously explored a bit of the mineshaft to see if I could find any goodies, while also picking up some of the tracks so I could use them in the future to bring the villagers over to my base. After about 15 minutes of exploring, to my delight, I found a minecart in a chest, containing some melon and pumpkin seeds and a singular golden apple. I know it isn't much, but it's something, and that's all that mattered. I managed to explore the mineshaft until daytime, but I didn't explore the entire thing due to not having a milk bucket just in case I ran into any cave spiders. On day 12, I made my way out of the mineshaft and back to my base with the spoils I secured. While I was placing my items in the chest, I thought to myself, I should make a tiny little fishing hut so I could fish near my base in peace. So, I grabbed my wood and started the construction of the brand new fishing hut. Day 13, I woke up and immediately began finishing up on my hut. Once that was done, I had the bright idea of making a compass so while mining I wouldn't get lost, and to keep the days as accurate as possible, I made a clock to keep track of the time. Honestly, I'm surprised no one else thought of this. Anyway, while doing some runarounds in my house, I was greeted by a creeper dwelling in my basement and almost blowing me up, making my 13 days of survival completely irrelevant. I slayed the basement dweller, took his gunpowder, and called it a night. Today was the day. The day some of the animals on my farm would finally go to the other side. I slayed out both sheep and cows until 4 of each animal remained so that I could easily breed a bunch of them again. Once I was finished, I stretched my walls around my fishing hut for security, and when I was finished, I decided that today would also be the day I go strip mining for diamonds. And little did I know, I would be mining in search of diamonds for 5 days straight. Good thing I made that clock to keep track of the days. Day 15 consisted of a lot of mining, but no diamonds, at least not yet. Just like day 15, day 16 I found a lot of iron and coal, but I still found no diamonds. But I didn't give up. I still had hopes and chances that I would find that beautiful blue block. Day 17 I found some lapis, but this wasn't the blue block I was looking for, and I found a lot of redstone. And I also found a little cave system, but still, no diamonds. After countless hours of mining, I had finally found it. That beautiful blue block I was looking for. Diamonds. I made my way to the diamonds, mined it, and to my awe, it was only just one. Seriously, one single diamond. Was the 5 days of mining really worth it, I asked myself? All this for just one diamond? Nevertheless, I took the diamond and killed the creeper nearby and just kept on digging with the high hopes that maybe, just maybe, I could find 2 more so I could make a pickaxe. I gave up after having a close run-in with death and also getting lost in the mine. On day 19, I came up from the mine around midnight and put my ores and other belongings in the chest and killed the mobs around my house and bred my animals until the sun rose. just to release some frustration for all that mining and one diamond I had found. Once the sun had risen, I harvested some sugarcane and made some paper for bookshelves so I had them for the future when I was ready to enchant. And I also took the time and added a little chimney to my house. Before I went to bed, I watched the beautiful sunset over the village and scurried off to my house before any mobs could spawn in and kill me. I got inside, went upstairs, and went to sleep to advance to day 20. So, what exactly did I do to celebrate 20 days of survival? Well, I watched the sunrise over my base and headed over to my little fishing hut and fished all day. Well, because I deserved a little peace and quiet, especially after 5 days of very uneventful mining. Grateful for being alive, I fished and fished until I couldn't fish anymore. That was it. Thank you guys so much for watching my preview video of surviving 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore. The full video would be out very soon, but just give it some time because playing for 100 days and writing the script and proofreading does take some time. So I thought it would be best to let you guys get a preview of the first 20 days into a little sneak peek of what I was really working on for so long, to be honest. I hope you guys enjoyed the video yet again, and stay on the lookout for the rest of the 80 days. This is your man, Lost Disciple, and I'm out.
Color television, fan on the ceiling, abstract art on the walls, living different. 1989, talking on the phone, wind blowing hard, all the windows closed. Turquoise sheets, pink pillows, Motel 6, that's room 24. Meet you in the morning, meet me here tonight. Vibrating bed, gotta say it all right. Black marble sink, gold in the faucet, fresh bar soap, many shampoo bottles. Playing some Atari, she blowing on my cartridge. Room service knocking, I can hear him at the door.